This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you may be in the world. But here in South Africa, the sun is, of course, rising. Just behind this gorgeous marula tree on quarantine, you can see that ball of gas in the sky that's bringing light and warmth around here. Isn't that just stunning? And we are just one of many locations that we will be coming to you live today. Now, my plan is just to bumble, get back into it, see what I can find, and I'm sure that everyone else around will also be bumbling too. So as we admire the sunrise, everyone, buckle up. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. So welcome aboard, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And it's an absolute joy to be back, to be honest. I'm glad to be back on drive in the hot seat and exploring around quarantine. So hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera this morning. And we are going to head straight to the hyena den, just in case any of you were maybe slightly unsure and thought I would not do that. So I will head straight to the Misi Kaya, as they call it here. Misi is hyena and Kaya, which is such a lovely word, means home. So we are going to go to the hyena home. But more importantly, this is your live safari. So please do talk to us, especially if it gets quiet out there. I do have special things in store for you, so pay attention. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on the YouTube chat. If you're under the age of 18, kids is such a wonderful age, treasure it, and you must email us kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. And we will pay attention to your questions the most. Or there's another option. You can register on the Wild Earth website and head over to the live safari page and submit your questions there. So because not much else is happening on quarantine, I think we should bumble. Let us go. It's chilly, and I have to say, since I've been back, and a lot of people in camp agree with me, I feel like winter is coming. Now, in South Africa, they don't really have spring and autumn like they do in the US or the UK. The gradient is not so linear. It's more smudgy. It kind of just goes from summer into winter with a few interesting weeks in between. It's really not a fall or a spring. And I really do feel like winter is coming. The entire... the landscape's still the same, but the entire sort of temperature, the feel of the air is really, really changing here. So it's not winter just yet, but it's definitely changing. And there's some heavy-looking clouds up there, so I really do hope that they stay away. Please stay away. I don't want to get wet this morning, not on my first drive back. And I, of course, hope that Ribbon and Co. are very much there for us. So looking forward to catching up with the clan. especially all the little cubs and the leopards, of course. My last stint here with Steve was rather tricky in terms of weather and technology, so I'm very much hoping to catch up with everyone over these next coming weeks. But for this morning, we shall just bumble, see what we can find out here. Quarantine is just glorious. And although when I say winter is coming, it sounds very Games of Thrones, doesn't it? Winter is coming. But, well, it is, really. And it's not going to be a harsh winter in any way, shape or form. This vegetation around us, it will, of course, wilt and die and turn a little bit dry. But I think it's still going to be very, very thick, very, very green. And it's really not going to be the harsh winter that I once experienced in 2018 when I first came here. If you ever look back on any of that footage, every single dam was empty. And the ground was so dry and so cracked, almost like the underside of an elephant's foot. I'm not going to say a human's foot because that's really not pleasant. And there was just not a drop of water anywhere other than the man-made pumped pans, Galago pan, at least in this area. So it was a struggle for the animals out here. It really was. A struggle to find water and, of course, a struggle to find food. Predators can't hide. They can hide, they can try to hide, but it's really not as easy for them as it is when it's nice and thick out here. They're very exposed. Oh, hello, lapwings. So winter really changes everything for the predator and the prey and all organisms in between. However, I think this winter is going to go very, very easy on us. It's so magical to be back out. I'm not even paying attention to tracks on the ground. Okay, as I actually get back into it and really pay attention to tracks on the ground, we are going to take a look at the weather across all the locations.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the dawn. Welcome to the day after New Year, full moon. This day being the 1st of March, where the weather is 21 degrees Celsius, 69 degrees Fahrenheit. My good friend Johan has departed, and my other good friend Gert has returned. I hope we're all well, everybody. Hello, my name is Steve, and I've already introduced Gert, and what a wonderful morning it is, and how excited we are to have you with us. We started on Impala Plains over there. We're going to show the sunrise, and then we heard hyenas going crazy over here. So we're just trying to establish what was going on. There was lots of loud whooping, and then that cackling sound. It might have just been greeting. But we thought maybe we'd be able to track down something. So we're just going to spend a few moments just listening, see if we can hear anything. Listen, there are a number of birds calling in the background. We have the grey-headed bushshrike, rattling cisticula, golden-tailed woodpecker, crested franklin, forked-tailed drongo, emerald-spotted wood dove. The dawn chorus. Tawny-flanked prinia, bearded woodpecker drumming, there's even a white-browed scrub robin in there. Crested barbet, crested franklin, southern red-billed hornbill, It's beautiful CNLP. Well, the full moon was 2 nights ago, so the full moon will set at the same time or rise at the same time as the sun, about 53 minutes later each day. So you know it's a true full moon when, as the sun is setting, the moon is rising. Ourselves a little crombeck there. Oopsie, off he went. Oh, there's a blue waxbill. Gewone blauw seisie. Gert's going to be very impressed with my Afrikaans names for birds. Johan. There we go. There's the crombeck, which I don't know the Afrikaans name for. Sorry, Gert. Do you?
Oh.
Oh, so blessed to get the crombeck on camera. So uncommon to be able to get them on camera like that. They're such mobile, movable birds. They practice a behavior known as gleaning through the trees, where they jump up and down through the branches looking for insects. And they have no tail, or a very shortened tail, because they don't fly very far. The purpose of a tail is for movement, for slowing down, for elevation, or for gaining altitude if you are a large bird. But the crombeck just does lots of hopping, so I suppose the tail is a little bit of a nuisance. Birchel's kukkel calling. Getting all of its flight feathers ready for the day. It's like combing one's hair. Claudia, you want to know how I know it's a bearded woodpecker? The bearded woodpecker makes a very loud drumming sound. When it's a territorial sound. It's like loud. I can't do it. But the golden tail also does drumming, but it's much softer. Think about different types of drums. The bearded woodpecker plays a very fast bass drum, whereas the golden tail plays a semi-fast percussion drum. It's just the sound They're the only two woodpeckers here that practice real drumming. And the drumming is as a form of territorial sort of demarcation. Woodpecker will find the perfect tree, the perfect residence, and the louder it's able to make that sound, the larger its territory will be. Okay, are you ready to hear it in my hat? That is the call. Very loud. Very audible from a distance. This has got to be the best long-billed crombeck sighting I've ever seen. Whenever we do our bird challenges, this is always a bird we struggle to get on camera. There we go. It's calling. That is the wonderful call. This is its behavior now. Gleaning, jumping through. And off it goes. Very fast, agile birds. Lost in the knobthorn. Wow, dan gaat. So we discussed it last night about with the setting sun, about do some animals watch the sunset and think, oh wow, how beautiful. Well, I don't think that is the case. I think many of them, when the sun rises, these calls that you hear are joy and jubilation that they've survived another night. And especially when the sun is shining. Time for a bit of cleaning, straightening up the feathers, getting the feathers ready for a day of moving about. And once they've gotten all that in order, it's time to go and get some food.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a Wild Earth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Well, one track here in front of me, and then one track went right there. I want to follow the track with the cubs. Sorry, I'm gone behind the car. That's very rude of me. I want to follow the track with the cubs. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Okay, so everybody, we've just bumped into Pride of Lion.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Duma Private Game Reserve. This morning, sitting right here on the road from the end. Look at the sort of elephants that they're doing their early feed, which is always the best time for the feed. And my name is Andrew, and so many morning I have on the show. As you can see, thumbs up. So we got an elephant which we just find them. And then I know usually this morning looking at the track or following up on the side of lions that we heard last night rolling around camp, and the track leaves is going far away from the camp. But we got the biggest mammal on earth, which is an elephant. That's very nice. Static and feeding at the moment.
Hours of summer doesn't want to be there. Hello everybody, sorry about any technical issues you might be experiencing that side. We're just going to go back over to our open clearing. The hyenas haven't materialized, there's been no more noises. Open clearing. It might have just been some greeting ceremonies. We heard a couple of really loud whoops, and then that chattering, sort of skittering sound, whatever it's called. And then there's been nothing more. So it might have just been an individual meeting a more dominant individual and showing submissive behavior. I'm not sure. But it is one of those beautiful mornings that we can't help but show you the sky once again. It's just one of those days. It's early in the morning, but it is the 1st of March and it is the Monday, and so a wonderful time. Are you happy with that, Gert? Wonderful time for just a bit of self-reflection, if you're all alright with that. Definitely the right kind of day. Oh, ground hornbill just coming through the clearing there. There we go. 3 of them. Very cool. Jackie wants to know what I haven't seen. There's plenty, Jackie. I haven't seen pangolins, I haven't seen aardvarks, haven't seen a genet or a wildcat. I've seen the tail of a leopard, very quickly. That counts. I haven't seen a male lion on Pradens. I haven't seen a vervet monkey. Seen their tracks. Haven't seen one yet. Seen some bush babies. The lesser bush baby. A beautiful scene to wake up to if you are all at home. Just turning on your screens now, or maybe it's later in the evening for you. We checked out the Afrikaans name for long-billed crombeck, and it's called a Bosveld stompstaart. It basically means a bushveld stump tail, short tail. I really enjoy the Afrikaans names. Radio. Okay, everybody, well, we're going to go because the lioness that we were following up on yesterday that had the tracks, and we were trying to figure out where she'd gotten to. And remember, I had a couple of theories that she's got a kill or she might have cubs. Well, it seems like Brent Leo Smith has found her in exactly the area in the drainage I was looking. And he reckons the tracks there are cub tracks. So maybe the two leopards that I saw moving with the lioness yesterday were not actually leopards after all, but were little lions, like really little lions. That could be exactly what's happened. And who the lioness is, we're still not 100% sure, although Gert seems to remember Lagatha having a big scar over her right eye. Has she suddenly popped and no one even knew about it? How interesting. Well, we're going to go right up on the western side past Leopard Dam. So I was checking that area yesterday morning. The tracks went into the drainage, came out of the drainage. I had a feeling maybe there's a den. It's not somewhere you want to be really doing too much on foot, should I say. Well, let's go this way. Lioness with little cubbies. How exciting. Gabby, age 9, the ground hornbill's got a very loud very loud loud resonance that comes out of the casque of the face, which gives it a very loud territory, and it covers quite some distance, and it indicates to all other ground hornbills that they are there. So they're very territorial birds. They're very aggressive to other ground hornbills. They will either kill them or accept them into their family, but killing is often the occurrence. Well, how exciting. Johanna's going to be disappointed that we didn't find her yesterday. But you remember me following up on those tracks? I thought maybe she'd been hunting. Thought maybe she's come back for something in a den. Well, Brent's got a lioness. He hasn't seen any cubs, but he said there are cub tracks. So it's very likely that I got my leopard tracks confused with that of a lioness, because I said the leopards have followed this lioness, which is a bit strange. You don't often find leopards following lionesses. They don't hang out. They're not very good friends. But while we head over there to see if we can get some nice visuals, we'll send you over to Ambion Pinda to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a very gloomy, overcast morning here on Ambion Pinda, where it does seem like there is a little bit of rain off in the distance to our eastern side of where we are. But it is quite a cool morning here at Pinda. And my name's Chad. On camera today we've got Craig. And this morning we're going to be looking for lions. Last night there was one of the rangers that found a lioness, and it seemed like she had killed a wildebeest. So we're not too far from that area now, and we're most likely going to start heading in that direction and see if we can find her. There has been lions in this area with two different lionesses with two different sets of cubs, so we're not too sure which one it is for now. But yeah, we hopefully will be able to find her. If she did have a carcass, I don't think she would have gone too far away from that area. Maybe potentially if it is the lioness with the 4 youngsters that are probably just over 3 months old, she might have left that carcass to go and call those cubs to bring them back to that carcass. So yeah, I think that will be our plan for the morning. There's also tracks of a herd of buffalo in that area, so maybe we can see if we can find some buffalo. But our main goal this morning is going to be to see if we can go find that lioness with her cubs and see if she is on that wildebeest carcass. I'm not too sure if it was a fully grown wildebeest or young wildebeest, but we'll have to have a look when we do go and have a look for her. But there was a little bit of rain this morning here on Ambion Pinda, and to our far east towards the Indian Ocean, it is quite a overcast, rainy day. I can see some rain in the distance, but it does seem like it is starting to head north over Pinda, which is a good sign for us. And it does look like the sun is starting to peek out a little bit over the sand dunes, which is a good thing. And with this being quite a gloomy morning, a little bit chilly, I've still got my jacket on, so it's pretty good for predators. And I mean, things like leopard, the area where that lioness is also very good for leopard. So maybe we do strike gold and come across any fresh tracks of a leopard, and maybe that lioness feeding. But anything else along the way is a added bonus. I think you can see there off in the distance, it looks almost hazy, but that is rain. But hopefully it does pass, and we're able to stay out here on Ambion Pinda and see all the animals that we can find for everybody. Debbie, it can be very difficult to track animals after rain. especially in this area where we are now, within the southern parts of Punda. It's very hard soil, so very rocky soils, so it's quite difficult to track. Also with all the grass, if the animals do move off the road, it's very, very difficult to see the tracks. But the trackers that work here at Beyond Punda are very, very experienced, and they are able to see even the slightest little bit of grass that's moved in the wrong direction. And they're able to follow tracks. But if it does rain, it is quite difficult to see the tracks. But if it's rained and then the animals start moving, they're able to tell how fresh the tracks are. So it can be in our benefit, but it can also not be a good thing for us. It can often wash away the tracks, and then we don't really have an idea of where these animals have gone. But with this lioness that we're hoping to find, we're most likely not going to track her down. We're probably going to head straight towards where that carcass was, and then we'll have a look around there. I don't think that she would have gone too far. I know in the area there is a lot of water, so that's a good thing for her, and for her cubs. So, we'll have to see if we can find her. It's a beautiful, quiet morning here on Punda. And Tara, you don't actually have to be too far away from the lions to be able to hear them on a kill. Lions, they've got extremely strong jaws, and they can crunch bones and cartilage and anything like that with the backs of their teeth. We call them the carnassial shears, and they're able to crunch through many, many bones. So I would say if you're 10 meters away, you are able to then hear them crunching bones. We don't generally get too close to them. But I'd say 10, 15 meters, you are able to still hear them crunching those bones. Sometimes even if you are driving by yourself and you're parked, you can actually hear them from, I'd say 30, 40 meters away even, especially if the lions are fighting. Sometimes male lions in particular will often fight quite a lot over a carcass, and that growl can be heard from a huge distance away. And that's sometimes even how you can find lions. So every now and then, if you're on fresh tracks, you definitely need to turn off the vehicle and listen out for any noises. Even impalas and yalas, wildebeests, they're often alarm call at things like lions, leopards and cheetahs. And sometimes you can hear that alarm call, you're following fresh lion tracks, and that can potentially point you in the direction of where those lions are. It could also be something else, but if you are following lion tracks, it's most likely going to be the lions that you're hoping to find. So you got to use all your senses out here in the bush. Smell, sight, hearing, all of that. And also you got to use the predictable behavior of the animals. Like for instance, if there is a lions on a carcass, say they killed a wildebeest or a buffalo, often once they are finished that carcass, they'll often move off towards water. So, if there's a prominent water hole in the area from where that carcass is, once they've finished it, they'll often move straight towards water. And for lions, that often helps with digestion. So they'll spend a little bit of time around that water trying to digest their food. Because, you can imagine lions, they don't know when their next meal is going to be. So they're basically going to stuff themselves full as possible and eat as much as possible. And eventually from there, once they're so full, they're almost uncomfortably full, they'll then move to that water and start to rest and start to digest that food of theirs. It's amazing how quiet the morning is here on Punda. I can just hear a couple of birds in the background, but nothing else. We haven't heard any alarm calls or anything like that. So for now, from here, I think we are going to continue heading towards the area where that lioness was last seen. Hopefully she has maybe gone and found her cubs, and it'll be interesting to see which lioness it is and which cubs there are. But for now, we're going to continue. We're going to send you over to Lauren, who has something interesting for you.
We did find Tlalamba for you all, everyone. She was playing in the grass, roly-poly, and sadly, very sadly, she has jumped down into the Mulwati, and we can't go into the Mulwati, I'm afraid. Let us just go up here, Davy. Yeah, I think we've lost her. The Mulwati's very, very waterlogged, as you can see. And she gone. How sad. We may just roll back a bit and sit and wait to see if we get a view of her, but I have a funny feeling we're not going to be able to. Most of the roads are drivable now, but sadly, not the Mulwati. Yep, everyone, I don't think we're going to be able to give you a view, so I think Davy and I might just sit tight here for a little bit to see if we can, in case she bounces back. Okay, so hopefully we will get a view of our princess again soon.
It's the month of March and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everybody, well, look who we found. So, having a look at this female, this is the same female from the other morning that we followed. Brent has followed up in this area this morning, exactly where we were looking yesterday. And so what has happened, and you got information from some of the landowners on the Boston side, is that she came back all the way from that side with 2 cubs. So the tracks we're following up on yesterday, the leopard tracks that were following the lioness, were clearly this individual with 2 little ones, bringing them to a nice secure location on the far western side of Pridelands. How exciting. I was here last night, certain of it, where I was checking their tracks in the river yesterday morning. Brent says that their tracks are all over my footprints. So hopefully this morning we'll maybe catch up with some little lion cubs. She's apparently from the Ngati Pride, mother of 2 3-month-year-olds, plus minus. So I hope you'll all forgive me for mistaking 3-month-old lion cub tracks for leopard tracks. She is covered in ticks, goodness. She didn't have all of those ticks the other day. Her neck and ears are covered in them. Very recognizable cat. Hello, Gabby, age 9. Well, if this lioness was on her own and she had cubs and one was male, one was female, the female would stay with her forever. Well, until either one of them passes away. And the male, depending on pressure from other males, male cub, would leave anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5, even 4. If there is pressure from another male, it could leave earlier. If there's no pressure, it can actually stay in the pride. But in general, they get pushed out at a certain age. There's no fixed number, of course. So definitely not Lagatha. I was under the impression Lagatha was quite young, hadn't had cubs yet. This individual was quite swollen, definitely had cubs or was in the process. Very pretty. We're going to stay here with them, see if maybe we can get a view of the little ones to see if they indeed are cubs. Or maybe it is indeed leopards walking around on top of the lion tracks, which is unlikely. Little ground, basically they can remove most of the ticks from their body, but from their neck and ear region, that's where allo grooming comes in, where they will assist each other, sister and sister, licking, biting, nibbling the ticks off. But anyone else on the body where they can access, they will do so themselves. It's one of the hardships of being on your own. No one gets to remove ticks from your ear. She could have picked the ticks up just the other day. Female ticks will basically gorge themselves on the body, filling themselves up to enormous amount before mating and then falling off to then lay nests of pepper ticks. So it's possible she just walked through one of those such nests left behind by the movement of buffalo herds. She would have got a handful, like a handful meaning about 1,000 on her, and they would grow very quickly because it's male and females. But the males don't get as large. They don't need to get full with blood to lay eggs. Red-faced mouse birds flying over. Yeah, also 50, there's plenty of diseases transferred by ticks, but many of the wild animals that we see out here have got immunity to it. They've had many years of sort of getting adapted to it, and the strong will always move forward and the weak will succumb. So she's not a young girl, it's not her first tick bite. But they are parasites nonetheless, and they will aid in her losing condition. So she will have to address the matter soon. I actually got a new bunch of students in yesterday, come from Pongola, down in KZ, KwaZulu-Natal. And one of them has already been struck by tick bite fever. It's not a pleasant thing to go through, everybody. Extreme headaches, swelling in your lymphatic system. But she doesn't look like she's got a headache. Donnie, it's unlikely. It doesn't always happen that lionesses kill cubs. The rival pride's very likely. She's in a very sort of out-of-the-way place now. The biggest threat normally comes from rogue males or new males, hyena. But lions are an interesting lot. She obviously wants to be in a secure place, and they generally have their cubs in a place where you don't normally get other sort of large predators such as other lions within the heart of their territory, which is interesting how far she's moved. We obviously saw her the other day moving back from this area. She came and investigated this drainage line, the lack of other lion presence, no calling, no scent mark. A wonderful little holiday retreat for her cubs. I think they're nearby because there's a bird here that is constantly shouting. Typical alarm call. Darcy, I'm not actually sure how many lions are in the pride, but I can find out. I think there's about 9. Brent is here with us. He's giving me hand signals. About 9. He's just going to be moving. One of the eco-training vehicles is going to come and 12 to 15 cubs. Okay, it's 12 to 15 cubs. It's a very big pride. Obviously, there's lots of buffalo on the Boston side, so the pride is very good at catching buffalo. We had 3 lionesses the other day on Boston. I don't think this is one of them, but it could have been. She didn't have the scar on that day. So Brent's just going to be moving out. One of the eco-training vehicles is, you have to come around, eh? Yeah, coming through there is the drainage line here is pretty inaccessible, but one of the eco-training vehicles, the students that have just arrived are going to be blessed with a lion sighting this morning. And what a beautiful lioness. I know she's looking a little bit tick-laden, everybody, but she'll sort that out. That's only like a couple of days. A lot of the ticks will fall off as well, remember, once they are gravid, meaning pregnant, full of eggs. And that is exactly what I don't really want, because that is what we walk into. So it's not only the buffalo and the kudu that transfer the ticks. These ticks go through different life cycles, go through different stages of development. They want to start on a small animal and then go through another stage where they end up on a larger animal, such as a buffalo or giraffe. You'll probably hear that bird stopped alarm calling. Still haven't been able to find it. Ah, found him now. Tawny flanked Prinia just at my 1 o'clock here. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, it's gone. Tawny flanked Prinia just flew over the bush and saw this lioness here and nearly died. Courtney, well, generally when we find lions, even on their own, they're quite relaxed. Most of the lions I've seen of late anyway, habituated, used to the vehicles. Doesn't mean that they're tame in any way. It just goes to show that no one's pushing them. I'm not to say these animals aren't wild, but they are very wild. But they've seen vehicles, they've learned that the vehicles aren't out to get them in any way. And as you can see, very relaxed. We spent a whole hour and a bit with her the other day. She walked back over to Boston to go get her baby leopards, her young leopards, to come walk back with her. Now, I'm kicking myself that I didn't recognize that in the track. There's an interesting sort of difference between a leopard track and a young lion in what I call the negative space. So I might be able to show you using my hand, because it's quite difficult to do so on. So where the lion tracks fall here, the toes, you get that sort of ridge in between the back pad. And in a leopard, it's a pretty small little space, a negative space. But in a lion, it sort of pushes quite a big ridge of soil in between it. So it stands up like a bit of a centimetre more. So you got the front toes and you got this sort of negative space in a lion, especially a lion cub, that stands up quite nicely. The leopard, that's quite clear between those two pads. It's almost like just a little gap, not really a pushed depression. I'll try to show you that in my tracking book in a little bit. But I should have known better. But anyway, we learn. At least we guessed or surmised a few of the similar sort of ideas about it, that she's either gone to go and get cubs or she really has cubs here. So I feel quite happy with that assumption. But I'm disappointed for Johan that we weren't able to find her last night, because we did check this area, but she's out in the open at the moment on this termite bound. But this bush is very dense, everybody, and without really looking very hard and without being able to see very hard, it's not very easy. Because we actually checked. Remember, I said we're going to check the other side of the drainage, and this is exactly where we came to. Okay, so here we go. This is what I wanted to show you. So you can see in this male lion track over here, that sort of, on this side here, on this ridge here that stands out, quite pronounced in lions, that ridge that stands out there. And that's because if we do look, as you saw before on the track on this side, there's that extra space in between those toes. Now, in certain substrates, you can't see that. Let me just turn back one page, I think, and we'll see the leopard. So in the sand here, you can see that there's that negative space, but it's not really standing up. It's quite flat. Even in the harder sand, it's pretty much the same. But in the softer sand, which is what we looked at yesterday, it was very pronounced, and the track's very neat. When I should have maybe noticed with those tracks that they were quite different. But anyway, we get those niggling feelings, and we're new to the area, finding a lioness with cubs. Now we know that she's got cubs in the area. There have been leopard tracks in and around that area quite regularly the last week. We haven't had much luck in finding them, but that's why we communicate. I dropped information on the group, the Pridelands group, yesterday about the leopard and lion tracks moving in the same area, and that encouraged Brent to come and have a look and look at the success we've had. And there are many ways and many means that could have been a warthog tusk, a major claw, not really sure, could even be a sharp hoof without seeing it. Sorry about my head. Gonna talk on the radio quickly. Now, Nomi, just pull up left of me there, just a little bit further forward. Okay, I don't think he can fit. Okay, we're going to reposition so we can get a better view and then allow this other vehicle to come in. Okay, well, we're going to get you in a better position for this lioness. Hopefully we get to see some cubs. We're going to send you over to June with Lauren and a bird.
We scratched around a little bit for Miss Kalamba. Very, very sad. She's in one of her hyper moods, I think. And unfortunately, we just can't go into the Mulwati. Not only would we probably get stuck, it's not good for the environment. So we'll still circle around, but I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to relocate her, but we shall try. The hyena den, of course, as many of you have probably guessed, was not active. But we have got a batelier. One of my favourite birds. We always get asked, what's your favourite bird? It's very, very difficult to answer that question, but batelier is definitely up there. Now, we're on Leadwood, so the nest, the batelier nest, is actually just up ahead. I don't know if anyone's sitting on it. I, of course, have not been here for a few weeks, so we thought we'd say hi to this chap. Good morning. Got your makeup on already. And then we'll just slightly move forward towards the nest and see if anyone is sitting on it. I would love to see a newly hatched batelier chick. We see the juveniles flying around, but a very, very small chick. I would really, really love to be able to follow that. Now, of course, you can tell the difference between male and female. You can tell the difference in flight. They look different in flight when you see the underside of the wings, and they also look different when they're just perched like this. I think this is a male. I can't actually see the side of the wings very well. But look at those talons. You got your red shoes on. Definitely looking better than I am this morning. So let's just move forward, Dobby, and see if we can get a look in the nest.
His eyes are.
Oh, it's just closing them. Is it damaged? No, I don't think it is. I think it's just the eyelids. Okay. Let's see if we can see anyone sitting on this nest. It's got rather chilly. I've put my jacket on. But the Mulwati's just in there, so if we do a loop, we could bump into our princess again. She was rolling around in the grass, up to one of her many tricks. I think someone's sitting in the nest. Oh, it could also be a branch. Jake Kalamba is playing games, absolutely. I don't think anyone is. I think it was just a stick. I'm going to go forward a little bit more. You get it from here, Dobby. Let's just see if we can see any signs of movement or... There's definitely... I'm going to go forward again, okay? I think if we just get out of the way of that branch, we might be able to see who is sitting on this nest. So it wasn't a stick. I'm very glad about that. It's rather unfortunate when you think you see an animal and it's a log or a stick. Now this has to be the adult. But it really doesn't look like the adult, and we've got terrible views. What do you think, Davy? Go backwards or forwards?
It's about as good as it gets.
Let's just try and see if we can go backwards and get a face. Now, the batelier chicks, I'm sure many of you have seen them, but for those who have not, they're very different looking from the adults. Really, really different. Can you get anything from here? Forward, back. Okay, we're not having much luck here. I just thought I saw a head earlier. What about here? Is this equally awful? We've not got a visual from here, but there's definitely a bird on the nest. The reason we got such good views of Olivia was because she was on the embankment of the Mulwati. She was almost at eye level. But with the Wahlberg chick and with the Battalier nest, at least, it's very difficult to get a good view at what's going on inside. I'll go forward one more time, but I don't really think we're going to get a view of anything. It seems like I'm not the only one with a bird this morning. I believe Andrew has one too.
Thanks so much, Lauren. We're here just not far from it's called Garrigate, where we were tracking for the Pride of Line. They have crossed into Manyele today, where we couldn't follow them. And now we've got a white-backed vulture sitting on the very top of that dry tree. That just always makes sense when you see vultures and all these birds of prey. Whenever the cats around, because they're scavengers, most especially vultures, white-backed vultures. Looks like it's only one, which to me doesn't look like there's anything happening here. Or probably still they're going to still follow him. Also, when it's up in the sky, there's a chance of these birds to be able to pick up the thermos where they fly up and whatever died around. And that bird is going to sense and smell them. Busy looking around before it flies off. Whenever you see one vulture perching up in trees, and then you know for sure that could be that they're just perching for roost, or maybe there is something that died recently, just only one bird that arrived in the same time. Then I'm going to move on, check around here. In the meantime, I'll be sending you across to Lauren.
Unfortunately, we didn't get any better visuals of that bird. It's the Battalier. But it's not the adult I wanted to see. It's the chick I wanted to see, of course. But unfortunately, in a nest that high, I don't think we're going to get views until it grows a little bit and it starts to get a little bit adventurous itself. We do have a big bird over here. Can you see it, Dovey, right in the distance? But with my eyesight, I'm going to need to get my binoculars out. Oh, vulture. Hello, vulture. Good morning. This is a hood-eater, I think. The hood-eater are very bizarre looking. They almost look slightly naked with a hood on their head. They're one of the smaller species of vulture. And I don't know if you can easily see from here, but their face is very, very pink. It's actually a very gorgeous color of pink. And the juveniles have a really, really dark hood, very, very dark brown hood. And as they sort of grow up to become an adult, their hood lightens. So this is definitely an adult. You can tell by the size as well. But I don't think one vulture is anything to get excited about. They are heavy birds. They do ride the thermals in order to save energy while flying. So roosting up in the tree like this is perfect. But if there was 10 vultures, then we could become a little bit more suspicious. I really love vultures. They have a terrible reputation, just like hyenas do, but they're actually very remarkable, and their role in the ecosystem is so fundamental to the functioning of an ecosystem, but they're definitely overlooked. But they're extremely heavy, so although they have very, very long wings to allow for that, flapping, should one say, is going to cause a sort of deficit in energy budget if they just fly all the time, and that's exactly why they do wait to ride the thermals. Now, they can fly, of course they can, they're birds, but it's just going to cause a lot of burning up of the energy, if you like. So when they do ride the thermals, shall we say, which is just pockets of air, like when you're in an aeroplane and you feel that awful turbulence that sends your stomach onto a really horrible roller coaster. It's just basically warm air rises and cold air sinks. So the pockets of warm air that's rising when the sun heats, now that the sun's up from the ground, sort of creates what we call thermals. And this provides enormous lift for the birds. And by using the thermals, vultures can actually save 3 times the amount of energy that they would spend during flapping flight. It's not that they can't fly, especially if they've not eaten in a while. If they haven't fed, then their energy budget's going to be very low. They can't afford to go into deficit. No animal can, not even ourselves. And that's why they'll possibly wait until there's pockets of warm air rising, and then they can fly. And then they can go high, of course. They want. Height gives them the advantage to be able to see. Did you get that name, Davi? Nina, you're asking why do they have bald heads? They actually don't. They have a hood, and the hood is of course made up of feathers. So this is probably the best view that we can give you, but they do actually have feathers around their head, and that's why they get their name, the hooded vultures. But they do have quite an empty face, if you like, and in general, most vulture species have a lack of large, thick feathers on their heads. So they're considered bald, but they're not actually bald. If you think of the batelier that we just looked at, that has a lot of feathers around the head. Vultures are the complete opposite. And this is thought to be for a few reasons, one of them being heat exchange, so that the naked skin on the face and the sort of light coverage of feathers on the head can actually provide insulation when it's cold and also allow for heat loss when it's warm. And this is, of course, when they're on the ground, it's rather warm right now that the sun's bursting through, but when you go kilometres up in the sky, it's going to become very, very cold. And also, they do put their head in some very, very nasty carcasses. Oh. So the more feathers that they have around their face, that could cause a lot of sort of bacteria to stick to them, to become very unhygienic, very smelly. And that's another reason that they don't have to, well, they appear bald. So for hygiene, to stop being a health hazard, and for thermal regulation, the vultures generally tend to be quite bald in the head. And of course, they can't really preen their own heads. Preening is the bird version of grooming, and they have beaks that enable to get to almost all the tricky parts of their body, but definitely not the top of their heads. And vultures are actually quite clean, believe it or not. Despite their lifestyle, they are very, very clean, and they will bathe regularly. So I think I'm going to keep bumbling around and look for Miss Tlalamba. Konya, vultures mainly scavenge. They are scavengers. Sorry, I just thought I saw something. So yes, they do have that terrible reputation. I don't really fully understand why scavenging has such a negative sort of, well, lots of negative connotations surrounding it. It's just a way of feeding. And lots of organisms do it out here. Steal from one another, scavenge, eat carrion. But of course, vultures do scavenge. That's what they do. And they have incredible eyesight. So they are able to follow the predators from the air. So if there's a pride of lions, what you'll find is that as the lions move across the landscape, the vultures will follow. And I don't mean directly above them, but there'll always be vultures around in the vicinity, just keeping the eyes on lions. And why lions? Well, of course, they take down bigger prey. Buffalo, zebra, wildebeest, even giraffe. And normally that means there's going to be plenty of food left over for the vultures to scavenge. So it's worth their while. It's worthwhile following a pride of lions. Okay, I'm going to keep doing loops and probably driving myself crazy looking for Kalamba.
Wild Earth is launching a brand new bushwalk from Pride Lands, with a slew of potential dangers lurking. It's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice on myself then.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross, is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. Can you spot the lioness? We drove past her yesterday. We clearly couldn't spot her, but there she is. So we haven't seen any cubs yet. We haven't heard any noises. It's possible that she was inundated with their attention for some time. You know, she's just probably moved around the termite mound just to escape them for a moment. That is, if indeed there are cubs. Until we see them, the jury's still out. I'm almost certain they are. Brent actually said that one of the landowners gave him information that she was walking here with the cubs, so that solves the mystery. So one of the eco-training instructors behind us, Norman, is a guy I've done a lot of tracking with in the past. He's a senior tracker. I was just telling him my story and he was just chuckling. He was chuckling. So he's going to go and take the students to some of those tracks to show them what a lion cub tracks looks like at the age of about 3 months. And I can assure you, everybody, many people will mistake that. And it's okay. We don't mind finding lion cubs or leopards. But generally the telltale sign is that leopards don't follow lions on purpose. But I think your question should be, why do lions have a unique social structure? Because all cats are solitary, except for lions. Cheetah will form coalitions, but for the most part are solitary. Leopards, wildcats, all the cats we know of are solitary. So why are lions different? And that is something we have always discussed. It's about the size of the pride. It's about the prey animals. This lioness could do quite well just on her own. She'd feed on much smaller prey. She'd probably take nothing bigger than a wildebeest, but she'd probably even just keep 2 impala or kudu. Large prides have evolved due to the expansion of the plains. What was once just built up dense forest led to very small antelope species, which led to very spotted camouflage cats in the sort of semi shape of a leopard, probably much smaller than the leopards of today, quite similar to the Cape leopard that we find down in the Cape. They only get up to about 38-40 kilograms, whereas the leopards up here get up to 90-100 kilograms. So it's an enormously big difference in the same species. But the plains opened up due to climate change, and we got more open grasslands. We've got large herd animals moving through, and those animals are able to get bigger in the form of wildebeest and buffalo, and notably zebra. Not zebra, giraffe, but zebra as well. And so the prey animals got bigger, and so the predators got bigger. But I think yesterday morning I discussed it, is that the lions can only get so big before it becomes economically unviable to be a large predator. It can only get to a certain size before the energy requirements and the digestibility and all of that sort of stuff. There's a whole calculation that goes into it. And so instead of getting bigger, they said, hey, I need to take down a bigger animal. Why don't you help me? And slowly but surely, they got more and more friends. They saw the benefit out of it. They saw the collaboration helped them get food that they probably wouldn't otherwise get. And so they started working together. It must have taken a very long time to happen, because when you see lions feeding, they're still incredibly violent, incredibly aggressive. And if you've ever seen leopards on a kill together, they're not very friendly either. They can't feed together. They have to take it in turns, and the biggest normally dominates. So in prides, eventually to get food, they would have had to compete, and that's what's led to the serious sort of competitive nature of lions. Even for mum's milk, they suckle, they compete, they get aggressive, and as they get bigger and older, they get aggressive and compete. And those that don't compete or get aggressive don't survive. So it's led to this sort of knock-on effect of very aggressive lions at feeding time, who then have lots of apologies and grooming sessions after to say, you're my friend, I know I need you, I'm sorry I hit you in the face while we were eating, but I was hungry, you know. We've all done that, haven't we? Our blood was up, we punched our friend. I'm only joking. So predators, for the most part, cats in that regard, are solitary and very protective over their food. So lions actually are quite unique in the animal kingdom. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with our lioness from the Ngati Pride, see if she shows us her cubs, and while we do that, send you over to Pinda, which has found something special.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Pinda, where we do have something special. These 3 sub-adult cheetahs. How amazing is that? All cuddled up to one another. So we did go past the area where that lioness was last seen last night, and it seems like she's tucked away herself inside of a bush. We could hear her, but we couldn't see her, so we decided that it wasn't worthwhile spending a bit of time there, as she's got a carcass and she seems like she's staying inside that thicket. So we decided to move away from there and come to the area where we last knew that these cheetahs were, and here they are lying right in the open for us, which is just amazing to even just to see cheetah and to have them all cuddled up like that. Sorry, there is just another ranger moving out of the sight in here, but all cuddled up together. I was saying a little bit earlier that it is quite a chilly morning here on Punda. There is a little bit of drizzle in the air. So you can imagine these three younger cheetah might be a little bit cold. Maybe even last night was quite chilly for them. So they're all huddled up together, trying to get as much warmth as possible. Seems like they're almost lying where there's not too much grass. There's a little bit of grass around, maybe for a little bit of warmth. Maybe they are lying on top of that grass for that reason. It's quite amazing now. The sun is starting to break through the clouds, and I think as it does warm up, maybe these cheetahs might move away from one another and just lie flat. But they got a perfect spot where they are at the moment. It's an old airstrip, and it's very, very open here. And a lot of animals like impalas and inyalas would move around this area just because there's nice open areas, there's lots of grass around, lots of trees, and they're able to spot predators such as these cheetah. And it gives them the best opportunity to be able to get away from them. So I mean, you can see every now and then these cheetahs move their heads. They're all looking actually in the same direction. I did see that there was one impala that was running across the airstrip, but it does look like a big male impala. And I think for these three cheetah being as young as they are, probably around 10 or 11 months old, it's not a very good opportunity for them to hunt a big male impala. They would most likely at this age try and take down a young impala or a young inyala. There are quite a lot of young impalas around, so that's a good opportunity for them. Thanks for your question, but so there's not really any age gap where we will call cheetahs subadults. So we don't say from 6 months to say a year old we'll call them subadults. But I mean, I would say that personally, probably around 8 months to a year and a half, I would say that they're probably a subadult. And just after that, they're subadults, we can call it for now, stage, is when they'll eventually leave mom. So I mean, in this instance, it is a little bit different, as these three did lose their mom at a very, very young age. They would definitely still be with their mom for now, up until just under 2 years old. And that's when they'll then be almost fully grown, and they'll then leave their mom. But I mean, I would say probably anywhere just over a year old, I would still put them into almost that bracket of subadults, where they are hunting for themselves. We know that these three have successfully caught their own food a couple of times, so which is really, really good to know. And we've seen them feeding off young female inyala, as well as a couple young impala lambs. I mean, it's the right time of the year for these cheetahs and to be able to hunt the younger animals, just because, I mean, the impalas, they give birth around December time, so I'd say between middle of November and early December they give birth. So those young impalas are probably 3 months old now, and they're not too big, but they're a good size for these cheetahs to hunt. And especially that there are 3 of them. They're going to be able to take, and they're all going to hunt together. They'll all feed together. So there's a better opportunity for them to be able to hunt successfully. You can imagine that they're all going to be flanking that impala, and most likely try and corner it a little bit, and then hopefully take it down successfully to feed. I just see that one now in the front, just lay down, almost rested his head down. It doesn't look like the belly is too big, so I don't think they've fed in the last couple of days. So if it does stay a little bit overcast, I can see the sun is starting to come up, but there is a little bit of drizzle in the air. There's a monkey's wedding. I can just see that one's also tucked its head down, and you can see that there is still a lot of fluff on the back of the cheetah, and that's an indication of a young cheetah. Cheetahs, when they are born, when they're still very young, they are very, very fluffy. They're almost white and black, similar to a honey badger, and as they grow older, they almost start to stretch that fluff out, and they start to lose that fluff. And if you've ever seen a fully grown cheetah, there'll be no fluff on the back of their necks there. And that's often also an indication how we can age cheetah cubs. It is quite difficult to age, but generally the size of the body, the head, and then also as well as the amount of back of cheetah's neck. I can see even there's a beautiful rainbow off in the distance, so I think today is going to be a fantastic day here on and beyond Punda. I mean, to start off, we saw a lioness, but not a great view, but just to see some cheetah, and now there's a rainbow. But I think we are going to spend a little bit of time here with these cheetahs. I know they are sleeping for now, but you never know what walks around here and gets these cheetahs active. But for now, we're going to send you over to Steve with his lions.
Indeed, welcome back everybody, welcome back. Okay, so we're going to just move out of the sighting for a moment and drive just down to the drainage line here and just show you, we've still got this beautiful lioness here, but we'll show you what I saw yesterday, and then we'll show you now what has transpired. So, you know, when we came back to check this area when we came here yesterday morning, I found where her tracks had been the day before, and you'll see where I just checked briefly. But on the other side of the drainage here, coming that way, is where the last tracks of the cubs were, or the leopards. And then her last track was just on the other side of the drainage here. So, but there were no fresh tracks in the riverbed here. So these riverbeds are so wonderful to check because the tracks are really, really obvious. And tell me when you're happy. There we go. So we've got lion cub tracks, at least one. Over here, where are they? Sorry. Now, we're not going to get out of the car, everybody, but you can see where the adult has walked through over here. Those were not there yesterday. And then the cub is just here on the left. There we go. There's a cub. Now you see that negative space I was talking about, that broad area, and that looks like a young male. See how wide the tracks are, and so they were just upstream of us here, so she must have obviously walked past along the road. I didn't pick up on the cub tracks, and then she came back down. I actually checked right here. You can see where her track is right next to mine. And there's my footprints. There were no lion tracks here. But just on the left of us, you can actually see, I don't know if you can see it very clearly from where we are. Just on the left there's quite a little messy sort of section of tracks. I think my mirror might be in the way. Sorry about the mirror. There is a messy section of tracks. That's where her first track was yesterday. Came in and went out. There's only one set going in and out, and now it's a mess there. The cub tracks, the two of them are both going left down that drainage. So it's possible that she led them from just upstream from where we are now, not far at all, and she's gone and dumped them just over there, and then she moved away to get some sleep, because they can be unrelenting sometimes. She's like, stay here, I'm gonna go over there for a timeout. So there you go, everybody. How cool is that? Very fresh. Very fresh indeed. But as we always talk about habitat, what is habitat? It's an area that animals like to live in, sleep in, feed in, and breed in. And these drainage lines are the preferred breeding sites or den sites for lion and leopard. Lots of little alcoves and little bushes and the like where they can hide away. And for example, if I'd seen her tracks in the river yesterday like I did with cubs, I would have known that she had cubs, and I wouldn't have been walking anywhere in and around there. But she'd obviously stashed them, and then, oh no, she'd actually gone to get them the first time. So anyway, here she is again, but we're going to spend some time with this beautiful lioness, and we're going to send you off over somewhere, I'm not quite sure where.
Thank you very much. Yeah, now talking about the habitat for cats and all of that, where now we got a whole high rim of group of impalas on the road. What we see now doing, coming out of the bush where the grass is a lot taller, and then for them to stay in there very much open so they can see who's coming. And now talking about impalas, they are also one of the animals that they get around so much in group and then always dominate by one male in a group. And it's a kind of a social animal where they habit, it's kind of like all mixed brushes and also in the open. We always, when in a very thick bush, we're getting chance a lot of those carnivore species which hunt the prey species as impalas. But for them to stay alert, they have to stay lookout. Well, now it's all about the wind that is picking it up already. And the dominant male in this area, where he's just all grouping them around. As you can see from the background, he's chasing all of this around, just making sure they keep in the same number. And they are medium food, which most of the time they're more likely to be hunted by any of cats out here. Lions, leopard, cheetahs, even hyenas would hunt such animals. Python.
now talking about the male that dominated in this high room, where the dominant can change quite often from time to time. Never lost a fight where it's a lot of challenge. I would say asking if the impala would die from any of venomous snakes. Yes, it will die from venomous. Mambas and all these cobras we have are neurotoxics most, or cytoxins, those would kill such animal. Looks like I'm going to make a little room here. We're in the main road. Just to make sure that everybody gets to see the same animal. Seems to be chill, not too. It seems to be all relaxed. Like I say, we're on the main road over here, so we may have a lot of company of cars driving in and out. Looks like there's quite a lot of females in this group, but all raising their young one, which were born November, December there. But they're all slightly grown up already, though they can vanish away from dangerous if there's a chance of danger approaches them. Angie, so asking if the impala related to llamas. I'm not sure, since we don't have this kind of other animals such as a llama around here. But due to that their long neck they have, could be that, but these are more likely to be much antelope related to the impalas. I'm not sure if llama, they also stay in such a number as impala do. But that wouldn't really make a far difference, where you got also out here a lot of antelope where they solitary or not moving so much group. But I'm not sure if they're in the same family. So they're all looking at us, all of them, but some they're looking around too much, they're raising so much of their head, you see their ears, whether they've been disturbed or not, I'm not sure, but a lot of time when it does happen, they're disturbed, they would do alarm call. Could be that they sense something, they're not too sure. Can you see asking how many males can be in a group of impalas in the same time? Well, they are usually one. A lot of times one male that dominates all of the females. Especially when it comes to the rutting season, where it's the beginning of the winter, these males come very strictly so much not to be mixed up with a lot of male in the same group.
how do they warn the other males that they make such an enormous sound, a growl kind of, if you heard it from distance. That is for that specific male in that group. Always advertise his own territory around. Let other males know that he's already occupied in that area. So I'm gonna carry on, check around in this road here, and also keep an eye if there is anything that disturbs this impala. Otherwise we're gonna move off.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
We stopped as the dusk was settling and there was a zebra mare underneath the bush. She was lying down. We didn't really know what was happening, and then we saw it.
Everybody, there's a zebra giving birth there. There's a zebra giving birth. This is a zebra giving birth. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, you clever mare. Well done. It's born, everyone. It's born and it's alive and it looks fine.
This was, of course, an unusual sighting. Normally, herbivores like impala and wildebeest and zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back to Punda, everybody, where there's a couple of zebras that have now come into the mix, and you can see that they are moving a little bit closer to the cheetah. They make an alarm call every now and then, and you can see they're just investigating what's going on. It's almost like they just come in to have a closer look, and I think they know that these three young cheetah, they're not too much of a threat to these three bigger zebra. There is, however, a zebra foal quite far off the distance. We can't see the young zebra for now, but that might be a good opportunity for these cheetah. But with these three bigger zebras having a look here, I don't think these cheetahs are too worried about the zebras. If they do come, however, a little bit closer, these cheetahs may in fact run away, just because, I mean, you can imagine a kick from a zebra to a young cheetah. There's only going to be one winner in the end. And there you can see the cheetahs are lying pretty flat. They're not even interested at all. There we go, you just heard that zebra alarm call. Let's hear if it does alarm call again. No, it's slowly moving off now. But I mean, have a look there. All three of the cheetahs, eyes closed, the two in the front, even with their heads down. Not too worried at all. I think they can maybe even hear that the zebras are moving off into the distance. So I think that's a good sign for these cheetahs. I mean, they don't want to be chased off from an area that they've chosen to lie in. And with them, if they do get chased off, they don't know what is around here. And with them being in the open area, that's the best opportunity for them to be in. I can just hear the zebras running off in the distance. Joshua, so these cheetahs we've collared, you'll see two of them have collars. So the one in the front and then the one in the middle, they're wearing collars. So we don't often collar animals, but in this instance, because these cheetahs were they were in a boma, so they were in a secluded area in the reserve just because their mom actually got killed by lions at a very young age, and the mom would still be with these cheetah, and we decided to release them in December, and we gave them the best opportunity with the impala lambs and things like that around to hunt and all that. And the habitat guys, the habitat manager on the reserve, the guys who look after the animals here on Phinda, they decided to collar two of these cheetahs. Reason being, I mean, we can keep track of them by tracking them down and finding them, but for them to monitor them at a very, very close, very, very closely, we decided to put those two collars on them, just so that they can use a telemetry and that they can find them reasonably easy, just because we are unsure of how they are going to do out here. They do seem like they are doing well for now, but that's the reason that we collar them. And the two that we collared was the biggest male cheetah that we collared, and then the biggest female cheetah that we collared. And the reason we collared the biggest ones is that collar, it's not a very heavy collar, but just because the bigger cheetahs, they have more strength than the other ones. I mean, a bigger body. And with that little weight on their necks, we decided to give them the biggest cheetahs those two collars. But we are hoping that in the near future, maybe in the next 3 months or so, that we will then definitely take those collars off them. And yeah, they'll no longer have the collars on. Also, if these cheetahs are growing up, I mean, they're getting bigger and stronger, that collar is going to get a little bit tighter, so we also don't want to leave it on for too long. But I think the next time we do dart these cheetah, we'll take the collar off of these cheetahs, and then we'll have to monitor them by tracking them down and finding them. So it's just for temporary that we'll have the collars on them to monitor them closely. And that's the reason that we have the collars on. Also, within a private reserve, so there is a vehicle moving in the sighting. Kerry, yes, it is very unusual for cheetahs this young to be without their mom. So they'll spend with their mother. And then that's when they will be fully independent, and they'll actually leave their mom to go their separate ways. Generally, males, if there's two of them, they'll go off as a coalition, so they'll spend their lives together. The females, though, however, they are solitary animals, so they'll leave their mother and they'll go spend time alone, maybe even going into an area in search of a male that they can potentially mate with, and then one day in the future they'll be able to have cubs. So I think for these cheetahs at this moment, they'll spend quite a bit of time together. It's just, I mean, you can imagine being a young cheetah in the African bush. They're quite vulnerable. Hyenas, leopard, and lion. So they are at the bottom of the food chain, and for safety in numbers, I think they might spend time together with them. to get with them. In the meantime, over to Pridelands and see what their Lioness is up to.
Thanks, Chad. Just listening to our hornbills shouting here. Our Lioness has gone flat in the grass. We are really, really keen to know if she's going to go to her cubs or call them. The fact that they are walking with her in the tracks means that, and they've walked quite far as well, means that if she wanted them, she could just sort of move a little bit down and start doing that contact call. Can you get her belly at all there? Is it possible to get one of those mammary glands? There we go. No, that's a bit of grass. I could just see it with my binoculars. Okay, you can kind of see it there. It looks a little bit tattered around the middle of frame there. It looks a little bit matted. So what we look for when we're looking for lionesses with cubs, sort of a bit of wet fur around the nipple. Now we're also thinking that she's going to get hot soon because the sun on this relatively chilly morning has definitely started to warm up. And at age 10, lions can have 6 cubs, but the average is 2 or 3. 6 is obviously the very big outlier. Very hard to look after that number of cubs, but sometimes 4. I've never seen 6 together with one lioness, but I've definitely read about it. So 2, 3, pretty average. 1, it's hard to say whether there were more when you find them just with one cub, if maybe some didn't survive early age. But through the tracks, this one has definitely got 2 little ones following, and I do believe by the footprint that one of them is a boy. But we'll have to assess that further moving forward. And it's blessings that it's in an area that we're getting some good network coverage. Well, P, it's hard to say if there's a very specific age that they start grooming, but they like licking. And Mum's got blood on her face, I'll definitely give her a bit of a lick. Whether it's a means of actually grooming or just trying to get a little bit of taste is hard to say, but definitely after 5-6 months you're seeing them getting quite active in the grooming. They definitely get groomed a lot more though than they groom. But it's a very important part of social bonding, and as soon as they start feeding and going through those sort of stages of aggression at feeding time, there's a lot of, I'm sorry mum, afterwards. There's a lot of that grooming and trying to sort of heal the wounds and the scars that they've scratched up. But I don't know if there's a very set age on that. Maybe it's more than 6 months. They're more interested in being cleaned at that point. Very flat cat. So Brent was just saying that he thought maybe she's waiting for the warthogs to come out. We saw her walking the other day, if you recall. She walked into that termite mound and she started digging a little bit just down the road. She didn't dig for very long. But definitely warthogs are a good meal for a lioness. They're still dangerous. It's possibly what gave her that cut on her face. You okay in the sun there, Gert? I've gotten myself a very small branch that's covering me, only a little bit. It's amazing how you suddenly start thinking it's getting cooler and then the sun comes out. Apparently it's very cold in Johannesburg this morning. all the ladies and gentlemen in final control are probably all wrapped up. Well, Kirsty, she's obviously got to eat to be able to sustain herself, but the lactation's a natural process. It just happens. The body process, I don't know exactly how it all works, but she definitely needs to support herself before she's going to be able to produce milk. It's one of the reasons why elephant herds feed, and elephant females have such a high demand of nutrients in the breeding time, because they're feeding for two. So definitely ask any pregnant woman out there, they definitely need to feed, and it's all about nutrients. So if she starved herself, she probably would dry up. But in times of drought, you find huge mortalities in cubs. Well, in times of drought, you have herbivore numbers getting smashed because they lose their condition. But if it gets to a point where animal numbers become so decimated that predators can't feed, their growth stage and growth numbers decrease as well. So it's a knock-on effect. You don't see the herbivore numbers decreasing and the predators decreasing immediately. It's a slow delay. So if she came without food because of a massive drought, a massive die-off, and she found it difficult to support herself, then she would probably lose her cubs. So she needs to keep fit and healthy to be able to keep producing milk. Obviously the body is taking in the proteins from the diet and is able to produce the milk. How exactly that process works, I'm not sure. But without the food coming in, she will not be able to produce milk. Ooh, it's time to move. It's time to move. For her, I mean. 1 yawn, 2 yawns, and she's going to stand up. Look at all the ticks on her eyes. Goodness, Mama. Come over here and I'll pluck them off for you. I'm joking, everybody, I wouldn't. I don't think she'd let me. Now she's looking in the direction. Bit of a breeze blowing from that direction. Third yawn, semi-yawn. Should we count it down, Gert? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. How did I know that? Anyway, everybody, she's up. She's going to move around a bit. We're going to see if we can stay with her. She's probably just moving to the shade, but we're going to send you over to Andrew at a watering hole.
Great, thanks, Steve. So, being with the lions, watching them, also see how they have to be active sometimes for them, especially female when they have cubs. Get a hunt, get a feed, so that they can produce milk for the young one. Where here we have in this dam here was a visual of one hippo that's always sticking his nostrils in and out of that water. And now it comes up again. We right here at Treehouse Dam, where I always find one smelly hippo, as always, where sometimes he's not here, he's somewhere else. Lions, also nocturnal, do move during the day, where hippo, they prefer much to move at night. This is where they get out of the water, eat grasses. When they do come out during the day, it's not going to be for that long. Always return back to the water for the sake of their skin, since it's sensitive to the heat. Out of the water, it's all about feeding. For the males, it's all about feeding, but also to reactivate their boundary sense marking, because they're also territorial, the male. Leave this particular waterhole. In the meantime, I'll be sending you across to your line with something small in a tree.
When searching for a leopard, we have came across a very camouflage species. This is a Triagama. Now, I think it's a female. And I'm just looking through my own binos. Yes, it's missing part of your tail. What happened? Stumpy. Definitely a female, and clearly had a little accident where it's lost part of its tail. Now, the males have a bright blue head, as many of you know. That's how you can really easily identify them. Now, if this individual wasn't moving, I probably would not have been able to spot it. It was actually moving when I saw it. But when they're like this, if you're not actively looking for one, you really, really probably would miss it. Now, Tandy's crossed into Chitwa, somewhere around where we are. So we've actually came down onto Chitwa to have a little look. No luck so far. We were a little bit behind her, if that makes sense. But at least if we just stop, turn off the engine, listen, admire the agama, we might hear something or see something. Preferably see something. The leopards are throwing us round in circles today, that's for sure. She was alone. She didn't have Mareebs with her, but she's believed to have a kill on Torchwood, so it does leave promise, at least for this afternoon. I'd love to spend some time with the two of them again. Imagine clinging on like that, staying remarkably still to look like a piece of bark. We just go closer into her head, Dobby. So you will be able to see there's a little bit of blue. The female will have a little bit of blue. Sometimes it looks green, a little bit turquoise. But generally speaking, she's mainly darker. It's the males that have to put in the effort. Just like the weavers, really. They're the ones that have to attract the females. Sorry, one more time with that comment, Elton. critter freak, it does. It blends in perfectly. No need to stand out. No need to...
Yeah, monkeys.
Okay, Davy hears monkeys. I'm too busy talking. I think we may have to race ahead and hope that it's Tandy. That's who we're after all. Just up ahead, yeah. Okay. And that's why it really benefits you to actually turn off your engine. Sometimes we search, we keep going, but the engines in these cars are very, very loud, and it definitely blocks out your sound. Now, monkeys are notorious for getting very, very upset when there's a leopard present. They do not like the spotted cats. It'd be so lovely to see her, but if she is obviously on a bit of action and walking through the block, it's going to be really difficult to follow her. We can off-road at our sort of own discretion at the moment. We have to be very, very careful, tread carefully, but we can do it. My goodness, I think the elephants have been here. More forward, Davy.
Quite a way on, yeah.
Okay. Now we're quite far out. We're not anywhere near the sound at the moment, but at least if we can get a little bit closer, we can maybe have a chance of seeing the Queen. Okay, I'm going to pay attention now. Listen, look, and hopefully we get lucky.
It's the month of March, and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe.
so beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, our lioness, after you left us, just walked straight into a thicket, well, just under a bush, and just lay flat down on the grass, leaving us no view. So we thought we'd move off. We'd come back later when she's maybe moved back to the cubs. And we're definitely a little bit further east from her. Well, so the tracks indicate anyway. And we're going to head on down towards our favorite watering hole, Leopard Dam, for a coffee. I think that's a great idea. So just chatting with one of the other guys there, it seems their belief as well is that this lioness is spending a lot of time focusing on warthogs, which is obviously, it pays off. There are some dangers, but warthog is definitely an animal that lion generally doesn't have too much of a problem with, unless it's a big male. The lioness do quite well, and the fact that they're able to dig them out of the ground is quite helpful. Obviously not that helpful for the warthog. But as long as the big boar moves out the way first, the lioness has got no issue. The large female or medium-sized warthog. But we'll be spending a bit of time trying to follow up on this area in the afternoon. Exciting time. So we're just sort of west of an area called Red Earth. Beautiful drainage line, exposed iron oxide soil. You can see it by the color of the road. We're going to go have coffee at a dam and send you to Andrew, who I think is doing something similar.
But they could maybe move far or into one of their Mlawati River down there. So we're now staying here, looking at the Egyptian geese. And close to that there is also a whistling duck, or used to call a white-faced duck. We're now there, the difference is dark and geese, where geese they usually pair, where male and a female. It can mix up sometimes, but mainly when a male and a female together, it works well for the two partners. Where white-faced duck, you also see a flock of birds together. I'm so surprised how they're getting along there. And they all feed in very much the same source of diet, which is most plants and that. The whistling duck, the name called whistling duck due to their calls. When they make a call, kind of like whistle always, even when a fly pass by. But now, the geese, when they do kind of a honking sound, pretty much loud the way the female does that, and the male's hissing sound. Yeah, so you're asking if the ducks walk or move too much to a different watering hole. They tend to do that due to their search for their diet. And they only be around where it's much wet. They always prefer a wet area. Where in the winter we wouldn't have much of those white-faced duck. They only come when it's wet. So it's quite a lot of food for them. So yeah, we see them move to a different water hole to another so they can switch watering hole. That now for survival, they gotta help each other look out, especially bird of prey from the air, or leopard would sneak into those birds. And whenever there's a crocodile, which I haven't seen a crocodile in this twin dam here for quite a long time now, since there used to be one, but not anymore. Yes, crocodile will spend time hunting birds, any type of birds that come to drink. Geese and duck, they're one of those food sources for the crocodile. Now it looks like they're separated apart from one another, since they're two different species of birds. Digestion system for this type of birds, where they now prefer plants material for them to feed, but soft plants. And then it comes very weak digestion systems compared to a normal bird, where normally doves and these pigeons, their digestion system is very strong. Those these francolins, when they feed, pick up any seed from the ground where they mix with the sand, kind of a stones. But at the end, when the defecation come out, it's been purely digest 100%. So there's a difference between these water birds and these francolins and guinea fowls and type of other birds. It's amazing now what you see here. Looks like they're all getting along. So, Katsin, you want to repeat that question again? Katsin, so you're asking if the geese mate in the water? Yes, they do mate in the water, also in a bank. of the water. But we've seen a lot of dogs where you got sometimes a pet or tamed a dog, where those ones are not actually in the wild. They're never in the wild. But of course they can do it. They can mate in the land, where Egyptian geese and the dog, they would mate in the water. But the geese, they lay the eggs not in the water, out far from the water. Sometimes, if there's a trees, usually they will share trees with hammerkop, but they don't go inside, pretty much to the top of that nest. That's where they place their nest. They would be more likely to share nests with some eagles, because now then it works well that the breeding season is all different. It's the eagle that don't take care of their nest when they're not a breeding season. There's the only time the geese is they will pretty much activate that and then use it for the time being. So this Egyptian geese, I'm not sure if it's a male and a female. Jan says he's asking how the Egyptian geese kept their body out of the water, mean floating pretty much. And most of these water birds, when there's a time they can submerge down to the water, and they can do that. So sometimes they can float, and there's a control. They use their legs to do that. Their legs especially scoop kind of shape to these talons, so they were able to move faster when they want to. They can able to control their body when they're inside the water. But it applies the same with a duck as well. Their leg type are even a darter as well. Those type of birds are able to control themselves when they want. They cannot sink because they're able to display their legs to able to float around in the water. Glenn, so yeah, you're asking if there's a plenty of watering hole here, and that hold water, amount enough water during the winter. Yes, we do have sufficient watering hole. Some are big enough to handle water throughout the winter. Some are small where they dried out, depending on amount of rain that year. Even the small ones sometimes they can handle enough water throughout the winter. So a drought period only takes about 6 months, 5.5 months sometimes. That watering hole, those are sustained. He got up in the north in Bevershoek, a decent watering hole. But as this watering hole we're sitting at right now, between them, looks like it's gonna be good enough to keep this water running throughout the winter, looks like it. And does sometimes when there's a lot of delay on the rain, where mainly our raining season begin over somewhere around the end of October. And if it's actually quick enough for the rain to drop, and in anywhere around November, it pour very much. But can be a lot of delay, depending on which year. Some year, not much of the shower then. But we've been blessed this year. It's been a lot of rain. Provided a lot of food source for the animals. Where cats or carnivores, they will have beautiful feasts on these breast pieces, or be healthy enough. Those breed when it's wet, green, and they raise a young one. By the winter time, they're all going to be very strong and grown up young ones. So for the next season to arrive, for them to focus again to breed. That Egyptian geese now, it's busy at gleaning all of his grass seed. So I'm going to move on, search around here, hopefully for these elephants. If there's a chance of us finding them, I'm going to be sending you across to Steve.
Well, thanks, Andrew. From one watering hole to another, we have pulled up for a little quiet coffee here at Leopard Dam. And in the spirit of silence, I'll allow you just to enjoy and soak this all in. Sorry about the stick, everybody. There's a southern white-crowned shrike. Handy girls loving the bird calls at this dam. Yes, they are quite busy. Got a very white, fluffy head. The Afrikaans name is called the Krematat Laxman. Laxman is generally the name given to shrikes in Afrikaans. And Krematat is the Afrikaans name for the baobab. You might wonder what that is exactly. Translated as cream of tartar, which is when you open the fruit of a baobab, is this very fluffy white sort of textured stuff inside, which is edible. The fruits are very tasty. It sounds like a dog with a squeaky toy in its mouth. If you've ever given your dog one of those little balls with the little squeaky toy, you know what I mean. Sometimes learning bird calls can be tricky. Try and associate it with something. Donkey bridges, we call it. Ways to understand sounds attributed to some noise you're familiar with. Kona, it's unlikely there's many fish. It's not a very well-established watering hole, and it's just rainwater fed, so there's no permanent river anywhere nearby. So if there were fish, it would probably be catfish, as they're able to move across land at certain times. But many of the other smaller fish wouldn't have been able to migrate into this watering hole. But then I do stand to be corrected. It's hard to tell. Always surprises. But it's just 100% rain-fed drainage system without a permanent river nearby. And without, or with a lack of fish-eating birds around, that would be a good indication. No storks or herons. But in saying that, storks and herons and hammerkops would also feed on frogs. But fish aren't able to move between watering holes like hippos or crocodiles. Dr. Rocky Balboa. What an interesting name. You want to know how deep this dam is, how deep I think it is? Well, this island in front of us is an island. I don't think it's too deep. We've had a hippo standing in the water in quite a few of the places, so I wouldn't say it's the deepest of watering holes. But Gert, did you see this when it was low?
Elephant will go under.
Elephant will submerge itself in this, will it? Okay, so we had the hippo on the right of this island, where it's obviously the upstream side of the watering hole, where it would be the shallower side. The deeper side would be on the left towards where the dam wall is. So Gert's seen elephants completely submerge themselves, which is deep. Well, 3 meters. Bearing in mind they also might be flopping on their sides. If we go downstream of this and just below the dam wall there, where we've done a few segments, we can actually get an indication of the depth, because they wouldn't have dug too deep into this compared to what the drainage system itself would have been. It's just a catchment, an area where the water accumulated. They put in a natural earth-like barrier that's completely covered there by trees, which means it's well established. But nice to see how full it is. Bodes well for the winter months. And although we haven't seen an enormous amount of herbivore activity around this watering hole, as things start to dry up, we'll see that they definitely start to attract more game. And well, exciting times lay ahead. Well, sounds like Andrew's really enjoying the water this afternoon. We'll send you back over to him.
Thanks, Steve. Been in the water hole there, looking around, enjoying the view of the watering hole. Here, it's about the same, it's not actually a decent water hole where we're sitting, but a very interesting plant there that is growing. All you see looks like a floating, the whole leaf of that plant. It's called a water lily, and it's got a beautiful flower that is now it's coming up a little. It hasn't opened properly yet, but it's got to be, because it's still a very small water lily. Wherever you see, we're talking about now earlier about water birds, but now here, this plant, it's a very much favorite for a Giakana bird, which they use it, balance to walk, step, one of these, would be able to sustain their balance, since it's not actually a heavy bird then. So that plant is growing right from the bottom of that watering hole, from the ground, straight up. And they pretty much come out this time of year where it's wet, plenty of water. But inside is a tubers. Tubers almost like a very dark, size of a small potato sometimes, but round. We eaten them sometimes when we were younger, after school. You gotta be careful whenever there's a crocodile, because when we were younger, we didn't care. We didn't know much of a danger. So all you go down, put your hands very much, and you pull the whole plant. But then you will be killing the plant that time you get that little tubers, because now it has to disconnect from the physical plant, and the whole leaf is going to dry it out. But that's how you're going to collect that to eat. You would eat unripe or boil it into water. Doesn't taste anything like a sweet potato or potato. it's got a very much different, unique taste, but you still eat them. But leaves are not eatable by human. Could be some medicinal disease. Some traditional healers they would use, but I'm not sure about that. And that flowers, it's actually positioned enough up, as many of the flowers do, collect moisture early in the morning. For the butterfly, those are still flying during the day, they were able to drink from them. Bennett, you say you love the water lily. Indeed, it's such a beautiful, especially if you look at that flower. It's turned very much different color to a specific leaves. And where you, a lot of guides would term kind of how the birds move using this, a leaf, especially specific Giakana, would you call, they would walk in the water. But then they don't walk in the water. They would use such a plant, and they would do that immediately when they have to run, catch a little tiny frog and things like that. But a leaf frog also has been found within inside of the flower, since it holds a little moisture during the days for that frog to be able to sustain hide, but not to burn out from the sun. So I'm going to leave this beautiful plant and its flowers and carry on search for anything else we're going to find for everyone.
On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. Walking enables access to the smaller parts of nature, such as bugs, spiders, and flowers in much greater detail.
These are the wing buds right here. Isn't it just amazing?
I've never seen anything like this before. It is so beautiful. Look at those little legs.
Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we reconnect to the place that first taught us how to be human.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam-ops might disagree.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at Untitled Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth Daily.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. What is my favorite animal and why? I think I'd have to say a lion. Being able to try and follow them and understand their movements and dynamics is super interesting. People often underestimate them and think that they sleep all the time, but once they get up and start moving around, they are fascinating to watch, and watching them interact with one another is a super highlight for me. If I can pass on this passion and this enthusiasm for lions and prize of lions into a guest that's sitting at home, that's what I'm really going for.
Hello everybody, welcome back. We can smell it is a breakfast time. And we're probably going to be feeling that a little bit more tomorrow morning because we are shifting our times in the morning game drive from 6:30 to 9:30. So half an hour later start in the morning safaris. But we are going to be changing the afternoon to half an hour earlier, but finishing at the same time. So a solid 4 hours in the afternoon, starting at 3:30 South African time, finishing at 7:30. So that extra half an hour we used to have in the morning, it's now been doubled on to the afternoon. We're definitely going to have to take some snacks with us tomorrow, Gert. It's amazing how different half an hour can be when you're out in the bush and you're expecting breakfast half an hour earlier. So we have to prepare ourselves. A couple of rusks, homemade rusks would be wonderful, but rusks are very South African sort of traditional food. You dunk them in your coffee, they keep you going for hours. Many of the international students I've trained in the past would be introduced to a rusk and we're always like, I'm not quite sure, until they dunk one in the coffee. Not too long, otherwise it falls off and falls to the bottom of the cup. Just the right amount. Glorious, everybody, glorious. And now I'm getting really hungry thinking about rusks. We're losing signal. So everybody, we hope you've enjoyed this morning's safari. It has been wonderful hosting you out. Lovely to find a lioness doing her thing. Hopefully we get to see the cubs this afternoon, but who knows, we might not be able to, but we will be spending a lot of time in the coming days doing so, because who doesn't want to see leopard/lion cubs? I know I certainly do. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. See you this afternoon at the normal times. Times will be changing from tomorrow. So until then, have a beautiful day. Thank you for your questions and comments. Good day and goodbye.